Call the meeting of the Zoning Board of Appeals, Town of Cohasset to order. It's now Tuesday, February 6th, 2024, 7:06 p.m. Sitting as the Board of Appeals are Lee Darst, Dave McMorris, Woody Chittick, and Mike Dickey. And Matt Watkins can't join us. We're expecting Charlie Higginson momentarily. So we have 4 items on the agenda beyond some business issues, administration choosing dates and things like that. The first hearing was filed by Robert and Judith Kasemeyer for an expansion of a single-family home, 34 Stockbridge Street. It began in November, was our first hearing, continued to December, January, and now here we are in February. The only item I've seen is an updated, or I would say a corrected site plan from Perkins Engineering. There have been no new submissions from the applicants or their architect. So there were some calculation errors, if you will, made by the Perkins Engineering. And at the last hearing in January, I asked the architect to reach out to that group and correct a couple of errors, which they've done. Not terribly material, but I think it's important to have, you know, the metrics established. So is there anybody in the queue, Montana, who would like to speak, or?
So I'm going to pull in Christopher and the Kasemeyers right now.
Okay.
Good.
Hello,
Hey there.
Chris D'Orsay, Campbell Smith Architects here for the Kasemeyers. There's no changes to the architectural plan. My understanding is that it was essentially agreed to last hearing, and this hearing was to give time to write the ruling.
Yeah, well, we didn't agree to anything, but
Okay.
you could probably read the tea leaves. I mean, you know, this was really time to see if there were any other submissions, concerns in the part of the neighborhood, change in data, because what's before us now is, well, later on tonight, we're going to vote on this, and those are the plans. So, you know, the time has been pretty much up in terms of any changes, unless you have. We've heard from no one, so I assume you have no new submissions or alterations.
The architecture plans are unchanged from the previous submission. The only change, as you pointed out, was the change in calculation on the Perkins site plan.
Yeah, okay. Well, does the board have any questions for Mr. Dorsey? Nope. Well, then I would make a motion to close this hearing. Made and second.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, second.
Okay, Davis seconded it. Moved and seconded. All in favor, Woody Chittick, aye.
Dave McMorris, aye.
Lee Darst, aye.
Michael Dickey, aye.
Okay, so the vote is 4-0. To close the hearing, we'll deliberate in a bit. I have circulated the board. We haven't discussed it, but I've circulated a draft decision to the board. I hope you've all got it. The next hearing is a special permit filed by Carolyn Rees, who represents Dale Haver and Lindsay Haver, to raise the elevation of the rear yard at 31 Bow Street. This has been continued a few times. They have again requested continuance. I presume it's largely a Conservation Commission issue. I would make a motion to accept the applicant's request to continue the hearing, because we haven't even opened it, really. So do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, Lee has seconded it. Woody Chittick, aye.
Dave McMorris, aye.
Okay, I got 2 votes. I need a Mike and I need a Lee.
Oh, yes,
Yeah, I know, it's kind of self-evident, I know.
Mike
Mike?
Dickey.
You're on board. Okay, great. So that's continued until our next meeting. We haven't firmly decided, but it's tentatively set at March 12th, and we'll, before we adjourn tonight, finalize that. The third hearing is a special permit filed by Neil Sullivan and Abigail Sullivan to put an addition to their home at 87 Pleasant Street up in Cohasset. And it says pursuant to 8.3, I think we have a draft. Who drafted the decision? We won't discuss it right now, but it was, who? Okay, well, never mind. Now, this is the architect, Douglas Jack. So
Yes, hello.
tell us if there are any changes, new submissions, et cetera, et cetera.
I don't know if it was formally submitted, but we worked with Charlotte over at the Conservation Commission at your prompting last time. And she did a formal review of our site plan and approved of it. She also said that we should get a wetland specialist to come take a look. There's no registered wetlands on our property with the state system, but she said get a specialist to come make sure there are no pocket wetlands, like little ones, and there's a history of them on the street. So we did get Brad, who's one of the 2 she recommended in the area, to come take a look, and he has a memo stating that there are not pocket wetlands. We sent it to Charlotte. I asked if she would just communicate her approval directly to you, or if it was a formal thing. And I didn't hear back, so I don't know how she's going to convey that to you all. but-
Montana, have you received anything from Charlotte?
No, I have not.
I think when it comes time, we do have a draft decision, and when it comes time to discuss it, I think it's easy enough to approve it conditionally on getting that communique from Charlotte in our file and so on and so forth, and there being compliance. But from a zoning standpoint, that probably is a little less
Mhm.
concerning, but I would like it to be part of the official file. But I mean, that's fine. I don't see that as a problem. Anybody have questions to ask of the architect or the applicants?
no, as I said, I don't have any. It was pretty straightforward. So I guess any decision we make will be contingent on the conservation submission.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Doug, is this, you say she's kind of directionally approved it, or she has
Yeah.
approved it and we just don't have the paperwork?
So the threshold for needing to do a full conservation review or hearing is if you add a net of 500 square feet or more impervious surface to the plan at a site
Mhm.
scale. And we are not. So I did a site plan that
We're
has a before
disturbing
and
it, yeah.
after. Yeah, we're only disturbing, I think, an additional 200 and something square feet. It's not very much because we're removing a bunch of asphalt for the addition. So she said it's approved at an administrative level. We don't need to have a hearing for that. And that means yep. So we checked all her boxes. And again, like I said, I don't think she's formally issued paperwork, but she was satisfied with that.
John, do you have any issues?
I think in addition to that, with the permit application, a building permit application, Charlotte will sign off on that as well. So we'll have it kind of in redundancy with a copy of the letter and her signature on the permit application.
Okay.
Mhm.
So you're up to speed. Well, I would make a motion then to close the hearing and leaving it open to say close the hearing, but allowing the communication from the Conservation Commission to be added to our file. If there's any concern or substantive or otherwise, I don't know. I think we'd have to sort of revisit, but we could tentatively approve it. I don't know. What does the board feel? I mean, we usually have all our ducks in a row when we close a hearing. We do have a draft. I don't believe the draft mentions, who did the draft, Lee? Not Lee.
I
Martha.
did.
You did,
I
yes.
did. The drafts, I mean, it says at the end, just as all of it, that it, 2 copies, special permit based on their standard. I mean, I could add in that, I'm just looking at what we always say. We could put in that the conservation will be added to this file or contingent
Yeah,
on
and subject to the-
recommendations of
subject to
the,
their approval and
Yep.
the paperwork on file. Yeah, I
Yep.
think we can do that. Okay, well, I'm going a little quick here. I would, it's not all bad, but I would make a motion then to close this hearing with subject to receiving that communique from the Conservation Commission.
second,
Okay, moved and seconded. All in favor, Woody Chidick, aye.
Dave McMorris, aye.
Lee Darcey.
Mike Dickey, aye.
Okay, and Charlie Higginson has joined us, I believe. He's muted. Charlie, could you unmute if you can hear me? He's there, right, Montana?
He is, just give him a few more seconds, because I know when he jumps on it first, he has a difficult time getting the unmute button.
Could I ask a quick procedural question?
Sure,
while we're-
please.
While we're waiting, this is my first time presenting before the Cohasset ZBA. Will the voting be at the end of this hearing? Should we
Yes.
stick around or?
Yes.
Okay,
We,
So we'll
we
stick around
intend
to
to
the-
review the draft decision and
gotcha.
that Lee is done, and then we'll verbally review it and pepper her
Okay,
with
great.
questions, but we'll dispense with that tonight. I see no reason not to.
You have one more hearing.
Yes, I do. Okay, well, so
Charlie?
when Charlie unmutes, this will be an important one, I think. The next hearing is a continuation from January for Great Brewster Trail. It's a request to build a single-story addition to the home, and well, somebody says something. And-
Nobody said something.
Okay, Charlie, you're with us.
Great.
Okay. So we're just continuing, reopening the hearing at 4 Great Brewster Trail. I presume that the applicant's attorney, well, not attorney, but engineer architect would like to lead off, but please introduce yourself for the record, and whoever is going to be presenting the changes. There have been some changes made in the material we got a month ago, so walk us through those.
Sure. Brendan Sullivan with Merrill Associates.
Okay.
Here representing the owner, Kelly and Kevin Sullivan, at 4 Great Brewster Trail. So since the last meeting, maybe I should put up the plan. That might help. Let's see, here we are here.
Yep.
Oh, that's the old
Okay, I think that's gonna be easier than a 4 by 6 foot
Yeah.
piece of paper.
Can you see that?
Yeah, I can.
Okay. So, from the last meeting, we've, number of changes we made. We moved the bulkhead off to the side. We made the back porch a deck, so it's no longer considered a roof structure for building coverage. We're proposing to remove the existing shed in the back. And another thing is we're removing the Bitconk driveway to get our lot coverage. So now our lot coverage is down to 29.3%. The maximum is 30%, so we got it under that. The existing is 31.2. Before we were 43.3, so we got that below what the requirement is. The building coverage, the resultant of those, so it's really just get rid of all the roofed areas. We still have the small covered entry, which is only 23 square feet. But with the removal of those other structures, that comes down to 28.9%. And that's down from 32.7% from what was
Well,
proposed last.
yeah, it's over the 20% maximum, so you're in variance territory. You're creating a new variance.
Okay, that wasn't mentioned the last meeting. I thought we were talking about just
Oh, the
getting.
last meeting, I don't know where the last plan is, but this is certainly creating a building coverage variance. I think, you can tell me that I'm wrong. Welcome to, but
Well, I remember at the last meeting, the lot coverage was certainly over. We were over 40%. We did get that down. And I thought the discussion was that if we got the building coverage into like the mid to upper 20s, that it would be a viable project. That was the impression I got.
I'm not sure I got that, but I'll ask the board. Did we give inadvertently or deliberately the impression that they could double the building coverage, but it would be okay?
No, not that I recall.
Mm-mm.
Okay. Well, that's a showstopper.
Well, I mean, you know, it might, well, there's another issue, and it's not that it's complicated, but it's got many legs, a stool with many legs, and that has to do with the driveway. I don't know how you comply with our driveway and parking regulations in the town. Maybe you could explain that to me if you remove the concrete and so on and so forth.
Well, we're gonna make the concrete driveway a gravel driveway. The driveway now does go right up to the property line. I know there is in the zoning bylaw, a 5-foot setback. But the existing driveway goes right up to the property line as it does now. I mean, we could pull it away maybe a foot or two, but as you can see, we have a side yard setback there of 7.4 feet on that side. We are making it 8 feet. And with the removal of that portion of the main dwelling, the portion of the dwelling that's being removed here in front of the front door, that will give us more room to park a car in that area there. But right now it's a single lane driveway that butts up against the property line.
Well, have you looked carefully at the parking regulations? It's supposed to be 25 feet from the street, for example, any parking space. There's got to be most likely a turnaround. It can't be visible within 50 feet.
For residents,
Yeah.
I have to be
I'm
20.
wrong
I have
on
to
the
be.
ladder,
I have to
but-
be 20.
but it's certainly 25 feet from the street and any lot lines, it says. So yes, you do have a pre-existing driveway, but if you're going to be recreating it in some fashion, I think you're going to have to comply with there's a lot of elements. In fact, I think 7.3A talks about planning board standards.
Is that new?
Not what I'm looking at.
So every parking space has to be 25 feet from the lot line.
Yeah, 7.3A1, within a residential district, such parking areas shall be placed at least 25 feet from all street and lot lines. It's pretty unequivocal. Number 2, within a residential district, which this is, of course, such area shall be effectively screened whenever visible at a normal eye level from any point within 50 feet of the lot line of an abutting line. The area and access driveways, number 3, will be surfaced with a durable and dustless material so that surface water drains rapidly to a planning board approved system. That tells me the planning board has a stake in the game. So on and so forth.
Well, I'm sorry, Woody, but I don't have the zoning in front of me. That sounds like it's for a commercial or some other use.
It says within a residential district, within a residential district, so on and so forth. These are, it's unequivocal.
I don't mean to say that you're wrong, but I mean, are other board members on board with this? I mean, Never
I don't
heard
think
of
it's a question of being on board. It's a question of what does the zoning bylaw say?
Okay, so look at the lot. Where am I gonna put a parking space at 25 feet from the lot line when the lot is 50 feet wide?
Maybe a problem.
Oh,
Be
well,
done.
then we'll just tear the house down and make it a vacant lot.
Could. But,
Is that an option?
well, your clients bought an undersized lot, knowing that it was undersized, and that's why it had the house itself is the size it is. So there's no ignorance here. They have to comply with the bylaw.
So it's,
Or apply for a variance. Which could be a toughie because you really can't self-create a hardship.
so if I touch the driveway in any way, it sounds like if we are going by that current zoning with the 25-foot setback, if I touch the driveway at all, I can't put it back anywhere because I can't be 25 feet off the lot line with a 50-foot wide lot.
Yeah, well, maybe there was a variance, issue here. I'm not sure I see you creating a couple of nonconformities and not having to go through a variance test. It's not a question of extending a nonconforming building. It's creating new nonconformities.
Okay, so building coverage is a variance, the 25-foot setback for parking will be a variance.
The parking space has to be, delineated, 9.5 feet wide, 24 feet long to provide for a turnaround or a turnaround, but 20 feet or 24. But that's all spelled out in the bylaw.
Sure.
5 feet away from the lot line. I mean, if you can't comply, you could reapply for for a variance, but I don't know how the board feels, but I don't think we could go under section 8.3 when you're creating nonconformities. It's one thing to extend a nonconforming house or structure or something, but and lot coverage is the other, building coverage rather, is the other big area. And you'd have to have an approved surface from the planning board. I'm sure crushed gravel is probably gets approved. I mean, that's not our thing per se, but the bylaws do talk about planning board approved system. Well, let me turn it over to my colleagues on the board.
Woody, if I could, so you're looking at parking and loading spaces under section 307.3?
Yeah,
So A is all parking and loading areas containing 5 spaces shall have the subject to the
okay.
following. So that's where all that comes into play.
Over 5, yes, okay, my pardon. It's B.
So
Parking areas
residential-
shall also be subject to the following. No vehicle parking or loading spaces within 5 feet of the front side lines, etc. But that's, and there's no backing of vehicles onto the street. So it's really B, it's not A. You're right.
Woody, just one question, Woody, on the parking. Although they're not changing the location of the parking, just changing the surface, would that be similar to changing a roof on there? I mean, there's no change in use, but just a thought if that
I'm
would.
not sure I follow entirely. You may have
Because
to-
the parking space exists already in that area. Because he changes the surface of the parking area, does that mean that he's adding new parking, or just that he's changing the surface of the existing parking
Changing
area?
the surface, and I think because he's got a, I don't know what's happened here. Okay.
Sorry, I'm trying to get my
Um,
screen.
no,
I'm trying to
sorry.
get my screen back.
That's a busy screen.
Yeah.
because, if, as long as, if the surface doesn't qualify as impermeable, then his other calculations of coverage are okay. If, I don't know how the planning board views crushed gravel and things. I assume that that's permeable, but I'm not sure. I don't know if that makes sense, but you could put seashells down or something. I don't know. I mean, I think that's a solvable problem. But dirt isn't. I mean, I think there's got to be some surface. Brendan, what kind of surface were you thinking of? Was your client thinking of for?
I was thinking of a gravel or crushed stone, obviously something
Yeah, I mean,
permeable.
that's common stuff. So I don't think that's a difficult hurdle, but we would need to know the material and so on and so forth, what you're proposing, because that would be part of any decision were we to approve this.
Oh, sure, yeah, I mean, we weren't thinking of permeable pavers or permeable pavement or anything like that. We're just gonna take up the pavement, put down a gravel base and either leave it gravel or probably some crushed stone on top to make it look a little bit nicer and drain better.
Okay, well, because it's such a narrow lot and you've got a neighbor that is concerned, on number 10, they've submitted a letter to us, as you must be aware.
I am not aware,
You're not aware.
no.
Okay, this is a letter dated the 1st of December.
That,
Members of the,
I
am I-
didn't, that wasn't read in before,
Oh,
was it?
Christ, no, never mind. I thought there was Montana, did we get anything in terms of the neighbor, number 10?
Yeah, Stephen O'Duggan submitted a letter, but it should have been dated like February 1st.
Okay.
Or February 2nd.
Do you mind reading what his letter says?
It's dated February 5th.
But thank you, Dave. Yes, give me 1 second, let me pull it up. It is also posted on the Zoning Board of Appeals website, just so everyone is aware. Okay. Oh,
Well, I can get it. It's over here.
sorry, give me 1 second.
Montana emailed it to us at 4:11 today,
No, we
Or-
got it yesterday.
yesterday, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Here it is, okay.
here we go. It's pretty lengthy, so just be prepared. I am Stephen O'Duggan of 10 Great Brewster Trail in opposition to the proposed plans relating to 4 Great Brewster Trail before the board on February 6, 2024. I oppose the plan for multiple reasons, with the following reasons under ZBA oversight. 4 Great Brewster Trail property development is subject to deed restrictions noted as subject to Cohasset zoning, included in deeds from initial subdivision, though purchase deed of the first Mrs. Parks owner prior to Gale Parks, whom's estate sold property to applicants. Bullet number 2, history of 19 Highland Ave / 4 Great Brewster Trail. The Browns purchased what's is currently known as 4 and 10 Great Brewster Trail as one lot. 10 Great Brewster Trail was built first with 4 constructed shortly after. Frank Brown lived in 4 Great Brewster Trail until his death. The house was left to Patricia Brown and Frank's estate. The first deed for 4 Great Brewster Trail, then 19 Highland Ave, states subject to Cohasset zoning, seemingly to clearly note by deed no expansion of the house was intended. Bullet number 3, as both lots were at one time a single lot, and at the time of subdivision, Cohasset zoning laws were in place. The minimum width of 4 Great Brewster Trail clearly intended to limit future development by constraints of Cohasset zoning. Bullet number 4, development of the house as per plan relies on abutting properties, mostly 10 Great Brewster Trail, for accessing common course, construction and or emergency access. Most concerning is how might the overbuilding of such a small lot limit abutting property rights of future usage and or development in consideration of emergency access to the property, especially. Bullet number 5, the proposed plan does not fit the neighborhood character. Moreover, the proposed house plan benefits the neighborhood's open spaces while degrading the same open spaces for the landowner and neighborhood. The proposed plan's usage of the existing side setback nonconformity as justification to create a new taller and longer nonconformity at a new location does not seem consistent with zoning law intentions or consistent with the zoning approved plans for addition to existing non-conforming 5 Great Brewster Trail. Please contact me with any questions. Stephen Clark O'Duggan.
Okay, let me turn it over to my colleagues on the zoning board and see what issues or information or opinions they may have on this proposal. Somebody want to jump in?
Well, I've got a couple of concerns. Since the proposal proposes to enlarge the building, then the parking regulations kick in, which means there has to be a 5-foot setback from the sideline, and cars can't be parked within 20 feet of the street. I think, what is this an RA district?
Yeah,
Yeah,
RB,
so
RB?
RB.
RB, so 25 feet, I think. Let me just put that here. RB 30 feet.
What's 30 feet?
The front yard, you can't park in the front yard.
Where is that?
It's in, you go to 7.3,
Yep.
you find it.
It's 7B3. Parking shall not be located within the required front yard area in any R district. It said you can have an access driveway that goes through the front yard setback, but you can't park there.
So the front yard setback is at the back of the house. So I have to park behind the house?
Sure, I guess. That's what that
Okay.
says.
I'm sorry, what, Brendan, I don't understand what you said. The front yard setback is in the back of the house?
The front yard setback, the required front yard setback, which is 30 feet, is currently basically at the back of the house. The whole house is in the front yard setback. The whole house is non-conforming in the front yard setback.
Okay,
So we either tear down the house and move it back another 50 feet so we can park.
no,
in
it
front of
doesn't say you have to park in the front, and it doesn't say that you have to park 30 feet from the street, but you have to be at least 30 feet.
But no, it
More.
doesn't say 30 feet. It just says not in the front yard setback.
Right,
So-
well, the front yard setback is 30 feet.
Yeah, okay.
So it
That's-
should be 30 feet or greater in terms of setback, in terms of away from the street, but
Okay, and that's my first concern. My other concern is the coverage.
yeah.
I mean, if you're over 20%, you're creating a new nonconformity and need a variance.
Excuse me.
Hello,
Who's speaking?
and this is a homeowner.
I think that's Kevin or Kelly. If you guys have a phone on as well as the iPad, you got to turn one of them off.
And maybe they could wait a minute because I'd like to hear from Dave. I'd like to finish Dave McMorris's observations or comments.
Sure.
So he cited lot coverage. He
Yeah,
cited
I have
moving
some.
the driveway back sideways.
Sit
Yeah.
next-
Go give me something.
Those are
Somebody's
just,
got their phone on or something on their mic.
those are general concerns about conformity with bylaws. I also have some concerns about the size of the expansion on
Why,
this
why don't you
lot.
express those as well? You've got the floor.
I think it's a significant increase in non-conforming facade on a small lot with very tight sidelines, and it's of considerable concern to me. We don't generally view these very favorably with this much additional non-conforming facade, and especially in a tight lot like this. Those are my concerns.
Okay. Now, I would like to hear from the other board members before I hear from the Sullivans. I mean, everybody will have a chance to talk. Charlie Higginson, do you have any comments to make, at this early stage or not?
I agree with all of those questionable nonconformities. When you add them all up, it's even worse.
Okay, how about Lee or
I mean, I'm concerned about the size of the lot where it's under 5,000 square feet, and also that it is going to be covering going to be increasing the lot coverage significantly in an area that, possibly would impact the neighbors and the neighborhood. So.
Mike Dickey, what about you?
Well, I really don't have anything to add to what's already been said. I'm happy to echo it. I think anytime you're creating new nonconformities, that's a big problem.
Yeah. Okay, Brendan, would you like to have the Sullivans?
Yeah, if they could, if I could just make just a couple comments. So,
Okay,
so one being that, so there's currently, I mean, I think of it as a pre-existing non-conforming driveway, let's say that it is, right? Because we're
Mhm.
parking the front yard setback, we're closer than 5 feet to the lot line. So so think of it as a structure. So if we were to take, if we were to take that as a structure and we were amending it in any way, you have to make the whole thing conforming. I don't think that's what's typically done by this board. Is that correct? What you're saying is,
Nobody's saying you have to make the whole structure conform.
no, what I'm saying is, I'm sorry, I'm relating the driveway and considering it a structure. Because basically what you're saying is that if I'm touching that driveway in any shape, form, or matter, I have to make it conforming.
No, it doesn't have anything to do with touching the driveway. It has to do with expanding the house. If you expand the house, it triggers 7.3, whatever this sub thing is. This says that you have to conform with the driveway regulations. If you look at, let's go back here. All right, 7.1. The preamble is in any district, if a structure is constructed or enlarged, or an existing use is changed or enlarged, the dimensions of lot are changed, off-street parking and loading spaces shall be provided with the following table of off-street parking standards. So if you're expanding the house, your parking has to conform with 7.3.
And you typically enforce that with every zoning board application.
I don't think that it ever really becomes an issue, because I don't recall.
If you're adding to a house, it certainly does, and there's a non-conforming driveway.
Well, I don't recall seeing driveways on the property lines.
They always are. I'm not always. I mean, they are more than not in Cohasset, especially on these smaller lots. But
you're saying 5 feet? I mean, I'm skeptical that driveways aren't 5 feet from the property line.
Okay. But nevertheless, so and as far as the abutters letter, a couple points, I don't have it in front of me, but just listening to what Montana was stating in the letter, a couple of the points of no one can intend what this lot was supposed to be like or the expansion of the house when it was subdivided back in the 40s. Just because it's a 50-foot wide lot doesn't mean that, no one's allowed to not add on to the back of it. Another point I picked up later on was that the house was higher than what is there today, and the peak is not getting higher. We are keeping the existing peak in the front. There's actually a peak that's going to go perpendicular to that towards the back, which is actually lower. Which is actually just a bit lower than what's there today. As far as the facade goes, these are the 4 facades on the left-hand side. Did you see all in the red? All in red is what's non-conforming on the house. That's existing, what's there today. The figures on the right are, so once again, in red is non-conforming. The new is what's shaded in blue. So between the front and the rear elevations, these two over here, you can see our addition to the non-conforming is minimal. We're talking 30, 40 square feet. Now, certainly it does, if we go back, looking at the side elevations, we're certainly, we're in some cases almost doubling the facade. So the blue areas are the new areas that we are increasing within the setback. But obviously, if we're going to go and we have to, get below our 20% for footprint, that's going to reduce that as well. But I just want to bring up those points.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if Kelly and Kevin, if you're allowed to.
Sure,
in.
I'll invite them in right now.
They were on earlier. I don't.
I'm
No, but I mean,
here.
Oh, okay.
this is being recorded, so I would like their names and addresses, for the.
Yes, of course. Can you,
Videotape.
are you able to hear me?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
My name is Kelly Sullivan. I'm here with my husband, Kevin. We live at 10 Wampatuck Road in Hingham right now. We've raised our children in Hingham, and it's almost time to retire for us. And we purchased 4 Great Brewster approximately a year ago with the intention of, after lengthy discussions with the real estate agents and the people who actually, I believe they own the street. It's the Cohasset Conservation Trust own the street. They accommodated the sale of the home by moving the original driveway to the other side where it now exists to accommodate the sale of the home, and gave an easement to the new buyer over that area for the new driveway. I don't know if that helps, hurts. I'm kind of devastated.
Excuse me, are you saying
Sure.
that the Conservation Trust has given you a deeded easement?
We have a new deed. They hired an engineer to do the new placement of the driveway, and we have an easement over the first 4 feet of the driveway, which is land they own in our front yard.
Okay, access. They didn't give you, okay.
Does that make sense? You're probably right. Maybe it's referred to as access. I'm definitely not an expert at any of this. I just know conversations and so forth. Brendan just clarified something. The house is not going to be an inch taller than it is now. To purposely keep it, aesthetically pleasing with the neighborhood, stylistically, and what we thought size-wise. Pardon my cracking. I just got out of surgery, so I'm home. I'm home recovering, but I feel sick to my stomach over what I've heard here, because this is all new to us after a year of talking to evidently the wrong people. We also have had lengthy conversations with our neighbors, the O'Duggans, who, no exaggeration, call me or text maybe monthly, Mrs. O'Duggan, and is so excited about the addition. I am floored by the letter I heard and don't understand much of it. So I can't imagine. All I know is the existing driveway was put there legally because we received it with our closing package for us to have that easement over their property, and they actually own the street, where, as opposed to a town street sort of thing. And I'm not sure if that's material or not. But everything else, the O'Duggins are the farthest neighbor away from us. They have to be between 150 and 200 feet away from us. Their home, it's a field between us and their home.
We showed them these plans over the summer. They had no negative thoughts on it. It was all positive, like, nice. We're looking forward to having you move in. I hope the project goes well. We've already spoken with them about having to have equipment along that driveway area in their land, you know, to access, and he had no problem with that at that time. So this is new to us. But that being said, you brought up the driveway issue on this meeting, which we weren't prepared for, because the last meeting, how I remember it ended, was that all the board members were just talking about the
Permeable surfaces.
not just the permeable, but the building coverage. So that seemed to be the only sticking issue. So we remediated the lot coverage issue that Brendan pointed out to you. The building coverage, we have hired, and this is, by the way, this is our intended retirement home.
I said that.
If you could try and afford houses in Hingham where we live or Cohasset, it becomes problematic. So this should be given some consideration for accessibility, even though it's a small lot. We went to town hall at the beginning when we purchased this house, and we spoke to John Halen about an existing non-conforming. And although we didn't understand all the facts, we got to this point. And what I understood the last meeting with you there saying, okay, well, if you remove these items that were that affected the building lot coverage, we'll consider at that point. And then tonight's meeting, you bring up the driveway, the letter was sent by a neighbor, and you're being harsh on the building coverage.
Building coverage is the law. The building coverage is a law. It's not.
I understand that,
No,
sir.
you're being confrontational.
I do understand.
Please excuse us, where we've owned the house for a year and had no small amount of time talking to town people, neighbors.
It might be, but we have to apply the law. It's not a
I
popularity
understand.
contest.
I did no, and nor am I saying it is. What I am saying is we have done a significant amount of due diligence, we thought, on these issues. And the last meeting, it really was the lot coverage, and it was hard, but we knew our only storage, the shed, had to go. We knew the driveway, which would have been much easier for maintenance at our age, had to go. And, you know, the roof, the roof, which would have given us a modicum of privacy, we knew it had to go. We knew we had to lump it to accommodate the rules and the law, as you say. We had no idea that the existing driveway would come into question. That was created for the sale of the house.
So that was created it became a nonconformity when the house was sold. It was created as a non-conforming driveway.
The driveway was created, and
access
the easement and access was created 6 months prior to us buying the house.
Right. So the only if you've created a nonconformity within the last 50 years, you've created a nonconformity. Or your predecessors. had.
Well, I would debate that, because the town put a sewer in the street where the old driveway was, making the use of the original driveway. It was almost like an eminent domain thing, making that unusable. So they moved the driveway so that we had something usable.
Or the previous owner did.
Or the previous owner. She was an
Well,
elderly.
that's not our lookout. The fact is that it doesn't conform to the law.
Okay, so
And if you bought it, I hope you had a good lawyer representing you, but it seems like your lawyer didn't do all the due diligence that should have been done.
Well, you know, sometimes you put your trust in people that you think are worthy of it. And we didn't really know that we hired an engineer, we hired a local architect that we've used before. And you know, and frankly, the information we got from people that we thought were in the know, evidently from what you're saying is incorrect. But now we're in a real pickle here.
Well,
We are not rule breakers by nature at all. We want to run alongside rules here. And but now I have severe heart disease. I'm giving you more information than I know you need. I needed the first bedroom. We were told first floor bedroom. We were told this would not be an issue. It had already been approved. We were in competition with a builder for the home.
No, nobody in their right mind could have told you this was fine and it was already approved. Nobody.
I'm not saying that the plans were shown to the person, but the real estate agent told us an addition up to this point in the yard was fine, and others. But that's neither here nor there. I certainly don't want to get into an argument about it. I want to fix the problem and work the problem here because we own the house. We've paid a
invested.
considerable amount of money for it. And at our age, that's not insignificant. So I'd like to work the problem with your help.
Okay, well, here's what I'm thinking. The driveway issue is essentially a variance issue because of the uniqueness of the lot. The building coverage issue, though, is it would be a very difficult mountain to climb to get a variance on the building coverage issue because you're creating the nonconformity, and it's a significant nonconformity. I think the driveway's just the way the lot is. There's not much choice there, but the addition is a choice.
And so
I don't understand how anyone could have looked at the zoning bylaw and assured you that this was going to be fine.
well, where we stand now on the building coverage, what I was suggesting is maybe Brendan can confirm this. I thought instead of 20%, we had up to 25% for a building coverage for existing non-conforming. And then our numbers come out at 3% higher, 3.5% higher, 28.5 or 28.9, but Brendan can confirm that. We're only talking a small amount of percentage coverage.
It's a 50% increase over the allowed building coverage, the building coverage by right, which is 20%.
Right,
I'm talking about.
Kevin, we confirmed at last meeting that only applies in the RA district, not the RB district. Do you get the 5% bonus? We confirmed that at the last meeting. So our maximum is 20%.
Okay.
And I think I was just looking at some pictures of the driveway. So the driveway was not changed 6 months before they purchased the house. They might have gotten an easement.
Yes.
You're right.
If I can, there's another. So that the old plan, the plan for the lot is it this one? Can you see this plan up in the
Yeah.
screen? The one from 1934.
I see it.
Yes, we see it.
So this is the plan that subdivided the property. As the neighbor said, it was from the original Brown property. Was subdivided from the lot up to the east. And the way the deed is written, the Great Brewster Trail is a private way, and it is owned by the Cohasset Conservation Trust. The way the deed is written, it says there's easement and access only through this area that says where the way is. So you can see on this lot, it comes on the westerly side of the house, not where it currently is on the easterly side. So technically, you're trespassing going over the old David Reed property to get to the lot. So I think that's what the attorney had cleared up, because the pitches for the lot, the pavement's been there for 30, 40 years plus.
Correct.
I think you're right, Brendan.
That makes sense.
Yes.
Okay, so it wasn't, so was the driveway you know, I think when Kelly misspoke when she said that the driveway was fixed and we made a nonconformity 6 months ago, that really wasn't the case.
You're right, you're right. My wording is probably
So-
inappropriate, so I
No,
think you're,
I think that's okay. So I think, our marching orders are to, reduce the building coverage, to 20% if that's a realistic,
That's
realistic.
by
goal.
right, then you don't need our approval for the coverage issue if you can reduce it to 20%.
Right. I mean, we still need a section 6 finding, or you know, pre-existing non-conforming finding, right? But
Are you talking about 8.7? What
Well,
section of the bylaw are you talking about?
well, because we'll be expanding the non-conformity, I'm assuming. So there will be facade calculations and whatnot, but they won't be as big as they are now.
Depends, we'd have to see it and.
Oh, right, yeah, but that's what I'm saying. I mean, we don't just get the building coverage on the 20%. We don't have to go to zoning. I don't think that's the case.
No, but you don't have to worry about the coverage aspect of it.
Right, right. And we may be able to keep the driveway at that point because the lot coverage is gonna now come down too. When we have up to 31% to use.
Yeah.
So if we aren't touching the driveway, I mean, I would just, I mean, not that I want to throw anybody under the bus, but look at your 2 previous applications that were on tonight. Look at those driveways. I'm not gonna pull them up or anything, just look at those driveways, see where they are and see where their intensity is and see if there's a 5-foot setback to the driveways and they're not backing out into the street. That's all.
Brendan, can I also add, if we remove it's a 6-foot entryway to the house. If we're removing the 6 foot, then the driveway moves over 6 foot. Does that give us the 6 foot, the 5-foot setback from the side? We're removing that. So doesn't that expands the driveway from 7 feet to 13? That's 5 foot. The,
Yeah, are you talking about the portion of main dwelling to be removed? Yeah.
Yes, this portion here is being removed, so.
Well, sure, that would give you, all
Yeah,
you have to do is set it back 5 feet from the lot line. Which would get, if it's 13, then it gives you 8 feet to play. It's a narrow driveway, but it's a single family house and.
so that remediates that whole issue that you brought up at the beginning?
Well, it may or may not. I mean, in addition is one thing, and I mean, if it's a, you know, I mean, in my mind, if it's a 2-bedroom house now, and we're keeping it a 2-bedroom, we're just increasing the size of a living room and a kitchen, that doesn't constitute an increase in intensity, does it? I mean, the same people living there if it's a 2-bedroom house and
think so.
2-bedroom house.
I would have to agree with you, I think.
It's just a bigger 2-bedroom house, that's all. So, hopefully
And
we
as
can.
Dave was alluding, I don't want to sort of adjudicate it right here until we see plans, but Dave McMorris was saying that if this were a matter of, you know, something, maybe pre-existing, or maybe there's some sort of relief we could give on the driveway, which wouldn't be nearly as harmful as giving relief on a very large increase in massing. That puts it, you know, there are 2 different issues, really. It has to do with visual and everything else. And yeah, I think the board, I mean, Lee, I don't know if you agree with me, but I mean, I think we are more concerned about massing and size than
100 square feet total.
driveway per se, particularly if you could move it away a little bit. But was that, I mean,
Sure, and we are actually on this side, you know, currently we're matching on the westerly side, but the easterly side, we're going from 7.4 to 8 feet. So, you know, there's almost a good half a foot, which half a foot in a 50-foot lot is I think quite a bit. So, but so if we could, I don't know if Kelly or Kevin, if you have any other further comments, but maybe if we continue to your March hearing.
1 more month?
yeah, well,
Okay.
I mean, yeah, today, if we're gonna make a decision, all we have is a plan in front of us, and I think you can probably guess where our decision would come out. I would much rather see you try to work to relieve our anxieties.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And us too. We don't want to move, we don't want to close it tonight, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Right.
No,
Brendan,
that'd
as the drawing stands now, is the total new build 14 square feet, including existing
1,400.
1,400 square feet, thereabouts?
Yes. I say that.
Okay. So it's 1,400 square feet and it's no taller. And we're only building in depth, not width. And we've reduced both sides of the house away from lot lines. So it's a matter of square footage that we need to get rid of. Is that it?
Yes. Yep.
And it's only a single story structure. It's not 2 stories.
Okay, so we need to go from 14 square feet. I thought we had already taken a haircut everywhere, a lot of places that we could.
Yeah. We'll have to, we need a buzz cut.
Yeah, and you do have a resource in John Hallen. He can, he doesn't, his rulings are not ultimately determinative when it comes to zoning. We are, but nevertheless, he knows certain workarounds and solutions, and we're not a design board. So maybe the appropriate next step would be, well, you guys and Brendan, Sullivans and Brendan get together, but then talk to John and see if there's any other sort of creative tweaks that can be done, and then come back to us with something you think is going to satisfy us.
Okay, at this
Okay,
point,
that
is
sounds
all the information we need has been out. It's been a trickle effect from my standpoint since last August. So as far as this board meeting goes, all the information should be out now on what has to get done to carve out a niche to have a small addition so that we can live in the house for our retirement. There's nothing
Okay.
new that's going to come up by next
You raise
week.
a very good point. So let me turn it over to the board and say, are there any other obvious or even questionable zoning issues that they should also address to be on the safe side, so they don't, keep coming back and coming back and coming back? Charlie, you've got a pretty good eye for some of this. What do you think?
Well, definitely they should come back as how we end up designing it. If you put all these things together, then we have a certain amount of discretion under the enlarging non-conforming, but it's the net result is not that great reduction in enlarging. So I'll be a little cautious committing ourselves to
I don't want to commit, to approving something we haven't seen, or sending a signal that if you do this much, we'll approve it. I just don't know, Brendan. I mean, you've done this hundreds of times.
Oh, yes. Yep. I'm fully aware of where we need to go. I mean, we'll make the
Okay.
footprint is, well, we're gonna make it 20%, right? And that's gonna reduce the addition
Yeah,
probably.
you want to avoid variance territory if you can, and throw
Oh,
this
yeah.
into 8, section 8. Enlargement of a non-conforming structure, et cetera, but not creating new variance needs such as lot coverage just hadn't been or doesn't exist in the present house.
Yeah, I think I have a good feeling where we need to go. I just don't know if the Sullivans are gonna get what they want with, where we need to be at, but
Well, I don't
that's not the board's.
necessarily, I can live with not having what I want, but I just don't know how to live with not having what I need. That's
That's for
where,
you and Brendan and to,
Right.
we really can't get into that aspect. I agree with you that that's an
I
important
understand.
consideration. Of course it is. Probably the most important, but still, that's not us to, that's not our decision. That's not for us to decide.
Mhm.
Okay, we understand fully now. Thank you very much for your time and your information. It will help guide us into trying to make it a conforming.
Okay.
And
Now,
get
is
it
there
passed.
anything else the board has to suggest or ask, or do you think we're ready to continue tonight's hearing until March?
Other than to maybe stay in Hingham.
Another, yeah, 6 months, we'll push it out.
No,
I don't
that's
know,
not
how
an
are their,
option.
how are their taxes there? They may be.
Yeah, well, we're doing both. We're
That's
doing
true.
both right now. So it's,
Our daughter lives in Cohasset and we would like to be near,
Yeah, no, I mean, it's,
so
yeah.
we have ties to the town. It's
right. well, we
just
don't
been
have
30
any-
years in this house.
You don't have any wish not to have you be residents, let me put it that way. And I think that's nice, but at any rate, I would then make a motion for the board to continue this hearing until March 12th, I think it is, right?
It's our anniversary.
March 12th, we haven't voted on March 12th, but I think that's the date set, we can, or a date certain. All right, I've made a
Okay,
motion.
That's fine.
thank you.
A lucky day for us.
Anybody in the board want to make a second?
Second,
Okay, moved and seconded, all in favor, Woody Chitik, aye.
Dave McMorris.
Charlotte Higginson, aye.
Lee Darcey.
Okay,
And
good.
Mike Dickey, aye.
Perfect. Okay, so we're now, that was a 5-0 vote. We will reconvene on this matter on March 12th, most likely, but it'll certainly be in March.
Great. Thank you very much, guys.
Okay, yeah, well, thank you.
Thank you, Brendan.
We now have two decisions to take a look at, and what was first on our agenda? It was number 87 Pleasant Street that Lee drafted.
Thought it was 34, but that's fine.
That
Woody,
that was my mistake. I just was typing. I didn't think about.
Oh,
order.
okay, okay. Well, it was 34. I drafted it. I was just looking at the bottom under deliberations.
I never got a copy of Woody's. When did you send it out, Montana?
Everyone should have gotten an email around 4:10 today. That's when I sent out like the revised agenda, the minutes, and the both of your drafts.
I did not get that.
I can resend it to you right now.
I have my draft, but I don't have Woody's.
Okay, with the back and forth of let's just open 34. I'll just top line is there've been a lot of sort of kind of confused calculations on this one. Sometimes favoring the applicant, but in a couple of cases being disadvantaging the applicant, such as they were seemingly unaware of the fact that if you're set back 10 feet or more from the sideline and have a structure, a building with a roof that is 15 feet or less in height, you can do that by right. And they were treating that initially as an encroachment. And so a lot of that stuff has been tweaked. I at this point, my conclusion was there's very little encroachment or enlargement within the setback. You can eliminate a lot of the first floor. There is some second floor. They're adding a third bedroom. It's a two-family house, and consequently underneath it is some not very large enlargement of a sunroom, dining room kind of thing. But I thought that they had tried very hard to keep things away from the lot line, and the whole thing comes down to an increase of 11% footprint and whatever. That may seem like a lot, but it's such a small house that an 11% increase is 128 feet or something. I mean, a 10 by 12 room, that's it. So I felt comfortable drafting the decision saying that they did meet the requirements of H7B, which is not more detrimental to the neighborhood. There are lots bigger and lots smaller, houses bigger and houses smaller, houses with more coverage and less coverage. But this sort of fits kind of in the middle of any of those metrics. So I felt comfortable saying this would be not detrimental to the neighborhood, and it wouldn't certainly be hazardous or injurious to public health. But for those of you who have been able to read it, there's been a massive paperwork. I mean, we've gotten 4 or 5 different site plans sequentially. And, figuring out which is which is the site plan du jour, is not an easy one, but I think they've tried. I think it's going to fit in. It's non-conforming to begin with, built in 1883, as I recollect. These are all fishermen cottages, and I felt this was, somebody want to take a jab at me. Maybe I'm Mr. Nice Guy, too nice. Any pushback?
No. Mm-mm. No.
Dave, how are you?
I'm not voting in this. I missed the last meeting.
Okay, you could do a Mullen thing, I think Cassandra said. I mean, Montana said.
Yeah, I could, but I haven't, so. I
Okay,
can't
so we
vote.
don't need your vote anyway. That's okay. Charlie?
I'm okay.
Okay. Now, are we at a point where I could make a motion to approve the decision? As
Sure.
written, there are a couple of Patriot Ledger dates that I think Montana's added, but other than that, I don't think there's any other data we need. The plans of December carried through into January, carried through today. They haven't changed in a couple of months.
I'll make a motion to approve the decision as drafted with, some minor conforming changes that you may need to put in, Woody.
I'd be delighted to make any of those edits. Sure. Okay, that's been moved. Anybody want a second my decision?
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. All in favor? Woody Chidick, aye.
Charlie Higginson, aye.
Dave is not voting, so we need the,
Lee, I always wait for you to vote.
Oh, I thought I already voted.
Mike Dickey, aye.
okay.
I'm just reading through.
Well, we can wait, Lee. We don't have to, I mean.
No,
since
I
you've
read it.
answered.
That's fine. That's fine. It's fine. Yes.
Okay, and the other deliberation is on 87 Pleasant Street that
Yes.
Lee has
Okay.
nicely drafted.
Have
Lee, you
to.
want to give us just a top line?
Yes, I was just moving my big sets of plans that I have put everywhere. Yes, if we remember from the last meeting, this property was built in 1934. The house was built in 1934, and it is actually one of the smallest houses on the street. And the lot had been subdivided prior to the sale to the current owners in 2015. And the house that was built next to them is much larger than their house, and the house on the other side is much larger than their house. So in effect, this became a long, narrow lot. So when it was built, none of the house was non-conforming, but with the subdivision, the north or the right side of the house became non-conforming. They're putting an addition on which will increase the facade in the right side by 90%. However, the back of the lot goes all the way back to a densely forested land, which is suggested is it's a buffer between that and one of the schools. And so that the property and also the addition, which some of the board members, I didn't have the benefit of the minutes when I drafted this. So I told Montana I reserve the right to make some minor changes based on the minutes when I received them. But the concerns that were addressed, the board members were concerned with the increase. However, the applicants explained that the increase is all at the rear of the property and it's away from the street side of the house, and it is in character with the surrounding houses and would blend in with the homes in the neighborhood. which have, many of them have had additions, and the back of their house actually slants down. The submissions made it very clear, the site plan and the submissions that were the aerial submission that was submitted by the applicants showed the sizes of all the nearby properties, and it showed that their addition would still make their house smaller than most of the other houses on their street, but it would conform to the neighborhood. So based on the discussions of the board, the draft decision recommends that we approve the permit, special permit.
Okay. David, did you have a chance to read this or not?
Yes,
What's
Hmm.
your take on the decision draft?
seems quite reasonable to me
Charlie?
and
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
well drafted.
Oh, thank you.
Charlie Higginson.
I have not had a chance to read the decision.
Okay. Mike Dickey, have you had a chance to read it or not?
I had an opportunity to kind of skim it, looked fine to me.
Yeah, I think you might have even been on the planning board at this point. I find it a little, I'm not opposed to it. I just find it a little puzzling that it must have been done by an A&R or something of that sort. I mean, we don't deal with with the division of land, but to create a non-conforming house via a split of land is unusual. Take a conforming house and make it non-conforming. I don't know how that got through, and it didn't get through terribly long ago, before your time, John, but not decades before. I don't know if this just slipped through the cracks or what. I mean, I don't know. It's unfortunate that they are now saddled with a non-conforming house that most likely could have been made conforming, given the setbacks of the other two, but who knows, the lots, but it's unusual. I'll put it that way. Not that it's awful, it's just unusual. Yeah, I'm comfortable with the decision. I think these people, yes, did knowingly buy a non-conforming house, but the house itself at one point had been conforming and was, converted. Its status was converted. Is that right, Lee? That's my.
Yes, I mean, they purchased it in 2015, and sometime prior to that, the property was subdivided. And as part of their plan, they're moving the driveway to conform with parking regulations. I double checked that after the last hearing. It's quite far back behind the house, so quite far off the street. So yes, and when I viewed the house, the addition will conform with the rest of the neighborhood, and it is actually up on a hill, so it doesn't appear that their addition will affect their neighbors. By the massing will affect their neighbors, like some other areas in town where you're like turning a corner and you're staring at the side of this. This is up on a hill, and most people probably went to it, and
You probably won't notice it.
you probably won't notice it because it goes, their lot
Goes
actually
down.
down.
Yeah.
You're really not gonna see it, and it won't probably even be really noticeable from the street. So, so I think even though, as we all commented at the last meeting, generally that's a large increase in the facade and the massing. However, in this situation, it will conform to the neighborhood. It will, and as we've said, it probably will not be that noticeable to the neighbors or to the entire scope of the neighborhood.
Okay, well, on that basis, unless somebody has angst, I would make a motion to approve the decision for 87 Pleasant Street, subject to any minor edits that may come about based on the minutes of our last month's hearing.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Woody Chidick, aye?
Joe Higginson, aye.
Lee Darcey.
Mike Dickey, aye.
Do we hear from Dave, or he's not?
Pass.
Okay.
He wasn't there. So, and I will just add the conservation language.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, they were concerned back in December about trying to avoid keeping impervious under 500 square feet. Impervious add, I should say, not impervious, and keep the work under 5,000 square feet of land alteration, but whatever. Yeah, I would put that in there. So the only thing is, how do we look? We can approve minutes. I've got some edits of November 14th and December 5th. Or wait a minute, was it December 5th or 6th? Well, whatever. The minutes, but rather than take up the board's time, I think I'll just tell them to Montana because they're typos and things like that. No sense going over them. Montana, you don't have the January 9th.
I
minutes.
just finished them.
Yeah.
Like, so the YouTube video, I just want to clarify the reason why I didn't submit them on time. So since Justin left us, he was
He did?
responsible for, yeah, Justin left in early January, and he
Oh.
was the person responsible for collecting all the Zoom videos for the minutes and uploading them to YouTube. And since he's no longer with us, the responsibility's been given to someone else, and they're extremely backed up. So they just got posted around like 2 o'clock this afternoon, but I did send you the January 9th minutes at like 4:20 today, along with the revised minutes to fix Christopher D'Orsay's name and the draft decisions and everything.
Okay, well, I didn't read them, but well, it's sort of the tag end of the day. Again, as with Lee, if there's something that pops out in the minutes that I missed that should be incorporated, I'll let you all know. And so that you're comfortable with it. My guess is mostly it's going to be, tweaks, spellings, and things of that sort.
I will still put January 9th minutes on for the following meeting, just because I know it was submitted
Yeah, I
late.
can't, I'm not, I don't feel comfortable of approving minutes I haven't even read.
Yeah, that's okay.
But we could make a motion to approve the November and December minutes with, Mike, you probably also have some edits? Or as you ponder those, why don't we give ourselves a few days to get edits into Montana, but approve the minutes in principle?
Okay.
I'd make a motion to approve November and December zoning board minutes.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded, all in favor, Woody Chidick, aye?
Joe Higginson, aye. Dave McMorris, aye.
And Mike Dickey, is he an aye?
Yep, Mike Dickey.
Good man. Okay, so how do we look for the next meeting of March 12th? I think I'm okay. Anybody have a known conflict? Dave, will you be back? I mean, it's not a conflict, but
Yeah, I'll be
you
back.
in Florida or not?
Nope, I'll be back.
I'm okay.
I have a conflict, but I can watch the, well, if they're uploaded in time, I can watch the YouTube video of it. And that would enable me to vote on the Brewster Trail if that gets continued till April.
Okay. Montana, how come we're changing? Is that a voting day? Oh, that's mass primary day?
Yeah, the
Okay.
5th is a primary, so I originally had it scheduled, but Dave brought it to my attention that it is
Yeah,
the
no, that's
primary election date.
standard stuff,
Yes.
The problem of meeting on Tuesdays in the state. Okay, so why don't we just settle on March 12th? Lee will.
Oh, actually,
sorry.
no, you know what? I still have it down. I had it down as the 5th, and that's when I have the conflict. I can do the 12th. I'm
Oh,
there.
great.
Good.
All
Sorry.
right.
It just actually popped up on my calendar as we were speaking. The 12th did. So, I don't know, Montana, did you just do magic?
Data mining nowadays, where they're all listening to us.
Yes, that is bizarre.
Uh-oh,
Just staring at my,
uh-oh, we're
it,
getting surpassed by the younger generation.
so yes, I do not have a conflict with the 12th. I had one with the 5th, but yes, okay, go on.
So I think we're good to go, Montana, on the 12th. We can take a vote if we need to, but I don't.
And as of right now, no one has come to me in the past month about submitting a new application. I mean, there's always surprises in line, but no one's
Well,
come
Bow
forth
Street,
with-
John, do you think Bow Street is gonna get the thumbs up, or are they gonna get the thumbs down? I assume that they're hung up at conservation.
I think eventually they'll get there, but it's going to be a little.
Okay, so we'll just assume we'll carry that forth. Whatever, there's no lifting to be done. We'll see if there's anything else new. Yeah, it's Brewster Trail.
Yeah, well, we might have something down at Bia Bistro, but they're working on that, so I don't know if they're going to get it.
Oh, somebody said Wayne Sawchuk sold that?
Yes, it did. And I think the owner of Bia bought it.
Oh,
I
Brian
can't remember.
Houlihan. Yeah, huh.
Yeah, that's.
Hey,
yeah,
you know,
so,
one thing, I don't know if the board notices as much as I do, because I live in South Main Street, you know, a hop, skip, and a jump away from St. Anthony's, but that seems to be, that project with the mixed use seems to be more of a staging ground or a holding ground for construction equipment than it does human activity. I mean, most days if I walk by there or drive by there, there's not a soul there, but there are 4 or 5, you know, there's a backhoe and a this and a that. Is that, at some point, does that constitute keeping construction equipment or whatever in the front yard?
Ever so slowly they move. You know, I know they're at a point where they've drywalled the inside and start to do the finished trim.
Okay,
They did run their water and sewer lines as well. I think that was in early December. So they've been, you know, got
okay,
that.
as long as there's a good faith effort.
I do, yeah, occasionally I do see the plumbing trucks there, so it sounds like they're, you know, hooking up the sprinkler lines and, you know, doing the finish work slowly. And I think they're waiting for the weather to, in April, to really start on the outside to finish that up.
Okay,
The grounds anyway, not the building.
all right, I mean, it's fine, I just, you know, it's been a long time, but
Yeah, we I don't know, every couple of weeks I'll stop in and it's kind of moving, but just you know, it's moving. That's all
yeah,
I can
that's all you
say.
can say, yeah.
Up with the Beechwood General Store, is that?
Yep, well, they have actually submitted plans. Recently, the fire chief and I had some questions on sprinkler and separation, so they're getting back to us on that. But the general layout is all submitted, so we're just waiting to hear from that. And we have sent it off to the other departments for review. So I imagine that should be squared up in the next month or two.
Good, thanks for asking, Lee, I'd forgotten that, that's another.
Usually
Drive by.
they just paid their building fee, so once they pay that, they usually tend to move a little quicker.
Okay.
I was trying to think of projects that hadn't started that were approved. Oh yeah, what about the Atlantica? Is that interior that moving?
Yep, they're demoing inside as well. Sprinkler plans came through. They had a couple minor modifications inside, so the architect was just in early last week to go over those changes with the restaurant, and it sounds like they've also worked out the logistics to redo the kitchen on the opposite side there. So I think they came to an agreement on that. So that looks like next season that the Salt House will have a new kitchen.
Well, will the Salt House have its own kitchen, or will they still be sharing?
No, they'll have their own kitchen. They will lease space from from there, but it'd be separate and they'll have their own access to it.
Good. That'll help them a lot.
Yeah, I think that was needed. So they finally kind of worked out the logistics and plan for that. So they'll have one fire suppression system to take care of the whole building, both sides. So
Okay. You know, the one thing, just tuck in the back of your head, John, the Tom Sullivan, the proponent, the owner applicant of the Atlantica, was very specific with us about the interior use, the type of stores and all that stuff. I don't expect the worst, but I mean, that's years ago. I suspect that some of his tenant operations may have changed somewhat, and that at some appropriate moment that our decision will have to be modified, I think.
okay, yeah, so far the two tenants that approached is a restaurant tenant, which was in the back side of phase one, and then the I believe they're trying to get an earlier tenant, the coffee shop in there. So those are the two
Known tenants, okay.
Yeah, so
I
far.
mean, if we don't have to change the decision, fine, but I wouldn't want him to run afoul of just some bureaucratic thing that, you know, we said the Lobster Pound is going here and he's saying, no, I'm going to put something else there. That's all. It can be changed, but we'd have to review it.
Yeah, so we'll, as that kind of progresses, we'll keep you posted and kind of direct them.
Yeah. There's no urgency until they're open for business. Okay, so we'll see everybody for a,
Oh, and also just in addition to that, across the street, they're coming along too. On Border Street, 46, is it? No,
yeah, the Wariskis or whatever it is. That's
yeah, the single family home that
Yeah.
they had down to, I imagine they're probably about 6 or 7 weeks away from
Oh,
getting in there.
good. Well, it's a sweet spot.
Hey, Woody,
Yeah.
I was talking with the bylaw committee, and Tom asked me to suggest you give him a call.
Oh,
He's yeah.
oh, Mike, you're supposed to be interference. Can you tell me what the topic is?
Well, he wanted to discuss the comments you'd provided.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I mean, I don't think they were, I think they should be accommodated, but you know.
You
that's
never know. You never know.
I know. All right, I will make a note to call Tom. All right. Thanks. Is the judge off the clock at this point?
Yeah, I'm afraid so. So get the Jack and Tom show.
Who's Jack? Oh, Creighton.
Jack Creighton.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh. I thought it
Both.
might be the Clark and Tom show.
Clark wasn't there last night.
Yeah, I think he was at another meeting.
Yeah. Okay, well, why don't we say that we will at least formally convene on March 12th, and I will now make a motion to close the hearing of the zoning board tonight.
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded by Charlie. All in favor, Woody Chidick, aye.
Charlie.
Lee Darcey.
Yeah.
Mike Dickey, aye.
And Davey?
Dave McCormick.
Okay, great. Thanks very much,
Right.
everybody.
Good night.
Thanks.
Good night, everybody.
All right, thanks very much.